Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Motorsport Manager. The Timmix here. And it is time for our third rookie challenge. I did turn the engine sounds down a little bit more. Felt like they were still just a bit loud in our last session. And next up is Up in Flames. Longer challenge this time, 5 races. And medium difficulty here. The 2016 season has taken a horrific turn for Scuderia Rossini. During the 10th race, their star driver Wexler was involved in a severe crash and sustained severe life-threatening burns. He's in the infirmary for the next few races. Can Rossini get everything ready for his triumphant return? So our objectives are to have Dieter Wexler win the Drivers' Championship. Another player accessory available for new careers if we succeed. Dieter Wexler can't leave the team, and I can't leave the team. And yeah, 5 races, so let's get this going. And this challenge is going to be sort of our tutorial on how to manage a racing team. So if that's not something you're interested in, feel free to go ahead and check out the light version, which will have a good chunk, almost all that stuff edited out. But in order to do this intelligently, we're going to need to get to know the various aspects of running a team. Okay. Now this is our basic homepage. I'm just going to go through the various screens here, what stuff we can see, so that we can then make some intelligent decisions later on down the road. Okay, so up at the top describes where the challenge, where we are, a home central hub, overview of your entire operation. And here's our balance. Got 15.4 million euros. 941k is our current per race income after expenses. You see the standings here showing the location of each race, how the drivers have done. Look at the top there, we've got Wexler having placed first or second in 6 straight races before the last couple really went against him. And then he's close second behind Chapman, so Chapman's our big concern here. We've got the outlook for the next race, what parts are the most important, what the weather is going to be like, information on the track, etc. And we can go through the various races with the left and right there, arrows there if we want. Here's our alerts. We've got 3 unread messages, 6 sponsor offers. We'll get to those, and then our save, load, etc. here. And we're just going to save starting file here for the challenge. That way, if something goes wrong, just load it back up if we want to restart it in the future. Hopefully that won't happen. Hopefully we'll be able to get through the first time. Okay, so here's what we've got to look at here. On the left, our team, obviously Scuderia Rossini. We're in the World Motorsport Championship, which is the top tier in the game. And we've got our 2 drivers. Dieter Wexler, you can see he's got severe burns, 2 weeks remaining on that. And we can see his abilities here, what series he can drive in, age, weight, all that stuff. We've got all the different ratings for him. We'll get to what each of those mean later on. And contract details there on the right. We can see everything's at 0 for him because of the injury. Saarinen, Niilo Saarinen, Finnish guy, is veteran obviously, pretty old. You can see his ratings also. Fitness is low, feedback isn't great, everything else is really quite high. So he's definitely a quality number 2 driver. And be relying on him for whatever we need to get done during the time that Wexler's out. 2 weeks. Okay. We've got Chairman Happiness down here. Shows the chairman's thoughts about you. If they become too unhappy, you'll be fired. He's quite happy right now, so nothing to worry about. We can see the impact of recent things. His opinions changed based on what has transpired in recent races. Also likes the fact that Dieter Wexler is known to be a team player, so that improves his attitude. And very secure is our job security. Then in the middle here, we've got the graphs for the team stats. You see the arrows here indicate this is the average on the grid. Top line is the best in the championship. So you can see not only how far you are off from the best, but also relative to the average. Got a strong car, which is second. Our drivers suck. They are dead last. But the main reason for that is that Wexler is so terrible right now with the injury. So once he's healthy, we'll look a lot better there. The headquarters, best headquarters and facilities in the competition. Our staff is overall 6th, just below average. Just above average sponsors in 4th, even though we're less than halfway to the best. So there's a sort of a bottom-heavy group there. And the pit crew is 9th, below average. And looks like it's fairly top-heavy on the pit crew. So that appears to be something that we could, in fact, improve on. You can see our status on the challenge anytime we feel like it. Same thing we've already seen. And working on parts, reliability, and performance, we'll get to that. But this just shows everything you're currently doing. If you're building something in your headquarters, that'll be here. We've got our next race coming up, a link to the calendar, and we will get to that later, and our standings. Important for what we're doing in this challenge, we don't care about the team standings. We can look at them. We're second to Steinman Motorsport. We don't care if we win. For this challenge, we only need to concern ourselves with Wexler. And given how close Chapman is, and Oliveira in 3rd is quite a distance behind. Our main strategy while Wexler is gone is going to have to be to play against Chapman, to do everything we can to limit the number of points Chapman gets in the interim. Alright, then next over, we can just use the arrows, or we can click on it. It doesn't really matter. Arrows aren't working right now. Not sure why. Okay. Player screen. Check out all of your stats and apply for other jobs. We've got the very original name of John Smith, 28 years old, no backstory. We can edit the appearance, not going to do that. We got the happiness again. You'll find that a lot of information is duplicated on multiple screens. So there's various ways to get information that you're looking for. They really think the UI was quite well designed for this. In our stats, there's 3 of them. Race management. Your race management stat increases when you do well in races and decreases when you perform poorly. Financial stat increases when you're in the black and decreases when you're in the red. And loyalty stat increases steadily over time and will decrease when you fire staff or change jobs. These are a lot more important for long-term careers. You're going to build your financial loyalty abilities, etc. It's not so important for a relatively short thing like this, where we're only doing, this is going into the 12th race out of 16. We're doing just under 1/3 of a season here, so we're just kind of there for the home sprint. The available jobs here, not a great concern to us right now. Available jobs panel allows you to try and find work with another team if you're not happy with your current position, but as I mentioned, we can't leave the team for this challenge. So we could ignore that. See our career history so far this year: 11 races, 7 podiums, 3 wins. And the trophy cabinet. below. History is the previous teams you've worked for, what you've done there, obviously, and the trophy panel shows you all previous trophies you've won with every team. So these are more of a long-term career thing again. Alright, on to the mail. All of the latest happenings from your team and the paddock. There's all kinds of filters over here on the left that we can use. We're going to ignore those, but it's good to know that they're there. We don't have enough mail to worry about. Okay, we've got, first of all, JTV Sport. Carlota Marquez, a news story on Wexler. Wexler recovering well, according to doctors. After weeks of silence, doctors at Munich University Hospital announced that WMC driver Dieter Wexler will make a full recovery from his devastating crash in August. Thanks to the medical team's quick thinking and the significant improvements made to the GMA safety regulations over the years, Dieter will be able to walk away from this dreadful accident, said Chief Surgeon Adelie Jung. Our sources revealed that while doctors are happy with Wexler's progress, he will still need constant medical attention over the next few weeks. What this means for his chances in the Drivers' Championship is still unclear, but the German remains a key player in the championship race. Alright, benching Wexler. This is Emilio Vendetti, our personal assistant with the bad haircut. Boss, according to the doctors, Wexler is healing up nicely, but it would still be madness to let him race in his current condition. When we leave for Milan, I will make the arrangements to allow us to keep him at home. At his current rate, he should have recovered by the time we get to Vancouver, so we should concentrate on improving his car for his return. And that's really good advice there at the end. We need to, since him winning the title is the only thing that matters, his car is the only one that matters. However, I'm not real happy with the setup for this challenge when it comes to this advice here about when we leave for Milan, I'll make the arrangements to keep it at home. Well, Sydney's next. So what are we going to do for Sydney? That would seem to me to be more relevant. And they should have given you a note on how to handle that. And then we're going to hear from the man himself, who almost looks like a mummy there, as beat up as he is. Hey boss, I'm still in this. I just got the latest from my doctors. They say I'm going to make a full recovery. They've still got to run a few tests, but I should be out in the next couple of weeks. In the meantime, don't give up on me. I know this has been a setback, but believe me, I'll win this championship if it's the last thing I do. So he's not letting this get him down. We can see more detail on the severe burns. Need time to heal. And it gives him minus 20 on a 20-point scale. So it basically ensures he's worthless. That's basically what's going on there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for our mail at the moment. Move on to the car here. And we can see all of our sponsors listed on it. Over here on the right is a really key thing. We can look at the stats for our various, again our car is second overall, but we can see the various breakdown aspects of it. We've got the engine here. Top speed is third. The acceleration is second. Deceleration is first. Low speed corners are fourth and just a little bit above average. It's, compared to the best cars, that's our weakest aspect. Medium speed corners were first, and fourth again in high speed corners, even though it's relatively better. So it looks like cornering, low and high speed, is definitely our weak points. The engine's always vital. Upgrading that wouldn't hurt either. And we got our chassis makeup. We can see how it these are determined at the beginning of the season, as it says, and we can see how good it is in various aspects. A little above average on tire wear, heating, and improvability, and fuel efficiency is outstanding. And then we can see our what kind of stuff we've got here. Again, that's not super important for us because it's set in stone. We can't change it. We can't change the livery. We're not going to do that. And then the whole how to design, fit, and improve parts, that's something we're going to want to look at once we've gotten the whole overview and are going to formulate our strategy for moving forward. Not going to go into that yet. But I just want to show like the basics of how it works, and then not actually going to change anything here. So, design new parts. First of our three things, we pick any part from the selections here. So let's say low speed corners, crucial for the next race. We're particularly poor at that. Let's just say we picked that one. We can see our costs and everything down here. Finished 8 days of it after the next race. Nothing we do here is going to matter for Sydney. But again, we'll worry about the strategy later. You can see the different types of parts here. We've got original, we've got average, good, great, epic. There's also a legendary. Those are the general quality. You can improve a part so many times over the course of a year. It'll start at original, move up to average, good, great, etc. So we would need to make an average part here. But actually, I'm going to show off one of the other ones that's already got some improvements. Take a look at the engine, because that'll demonstrate this a little better. Okay, and then we can see we've got our average, good, great, and epic. And at first, if you're just building an average part, you pick one of the average components. And then if you're going to build a good one, you pick one of each of those, and so on. So if we have access to epic parts, so we could pick something like that if we wanted to. Now each one of them has a cost. Takes an extra 2 days to add a good component, an extra 3 for a great component, extra 4 for an epic component. And then you've got to add up all the prices also. So you can see the various components cost 900K, which spikes our price to 2.4 million for this. And it would take almost a month to build. Over here we can see the part's performance is split into its current performance and its maximum performance. Maximum performance can only be reached by taking part in part development found on the car screen. So you start out we've got 832. There's the breakdown of the improvements. You get plus 13 from the designer, and that's just because of the designer's abilities. You see he's got a 13 engine, so that's how it's rated in each of the 6 parts, and you just add whatever his rating is to get to the performance there. So better designers will end up with better parts. They also have their own components here. So if I wanted to, I could have picked this component, and you can see they don't add any time or cost. So those are going to save you in terms of cheap, but they're not necessarily going to be the best choice. So anyway, there's that. Also just wanted to cover the let me unselect these. You can also see, by the way, I can't pick any of the legendary ones until I build an epic part, but they don't even become visible unless you've got an epic one in there. So you've sort of just got to work your way up the chain. You can see the risk level +1, for example, on this average part. That has to do with how likely you are to get caught using illegal parts and get penalized after the race. If you use a part that is a risky part, then you have a chance of getting caught. If you don't pick the risk level parts, then you're going to be totally good on that. Okay, anyway, after you go through, you create the part. We just select a few of these again. Then you just wait for it to be finished, and then your mechanics can start working on it, and we'll get to what that is. Go over here to reliability. Parts reliability bar is split into current reliability, capped at 100%, and its red zone. If a part enters the red zone during a race, its condition can drop suddenly, causing a greater chance of part failure. So the lesson there is basically stay out of the red zone. And this one that I randomly picked on for the Epic part is minus 25% red zone. So basically means there is no red zone. That would allow a part to be much more useful for longer races, because you wouldn't have to repair it. You'd go a lot further before that happens. So anyway, that is part design. Now, fitting parts. We can see we've got our two cars here, and you need to have parts for both cars. You can't just, any one that you develop is going to fit on one or the other. We've got our performance and reliability graph here on the right, so you can see, gives you a comparison of who's got the best stuff, where the holes are. For example, you've got a couple of reliability issues here, obviously, gearbox and engine. Performance is more even. At the bottom we can see purple is Wexler and orange is Saarinen. I find it more useful to just select this fit parts screen, and we can see this. Now we've got the performance, the reliability listed, and we can switch who's controlling which part is going on which car, for example. We also got the autofill if we want the AI control over that. Got the rules risk also, and you've got your quality indicators. We'll come back and take a look at this in more detail another time when we get to the strategy, and we can also just take a look at our driver's opinions. Wexler likes this car, but isn't happy about it not being better than Nilo's. Whoops, there we are. And Saarinen, as the number 2 driver, is thrilled about having an equal car. And this depends on how you have their contracts set up. But in this case, we've got a clear number 1 in Wexler, number 2 in Saarinen. So he's thrilled to have an equal car. Wexler is not thrilled. He wants his car to be better. And of course, since he's the one that's our goal, we're definitely going to do that. And then the improving parts. Now here we just click on these if we want to have the performance improved. We'll click on the reliability one. And we can see here we've got this staff allocation bar. You can set it to anywhere, and the numbers down here move. So the chief mechanic impact will have some, but the lion's share is where your personnel go. We would be able to work on far fewer parts here and have far fewer staff if we didn't have a highly developed headquarters. So that part is excellent. We can switch these if we want. Often one mechanic will be better at reliability or performance than the other, so you can optimize their abilities the best by switching them around. And the more parts that we work on, the slower they'll get done. But also, very often will be useful to improve multiple things at a time. So how many you add or remove, there's definitely some strategy involved in that. And again, we can go with the autofill option, and then they'll work on things in that way. So again, we'll take a closer look at this later. Okay, on to the HQ. And you can see we've got a max level factory, max level helipad, max level test track. I don't think we're going to be bothering to build anything new here simply because of how long it takes. We don't have that much time left in this season. We can see we could build a scouting facility in 3 months, but that's simply going to unlock more unscouted drivers. You can see we've got costs and times for all of these. We don't need to bother getting into the specifics there too much right now. Upgrading buildings. You can see we've got all these with the max level reach, so we don't need to do much with those. Creating and upgrading buildings will allow you to get the most out of your HQ. Each building and upgrade level provides increased bonuses and allows your drivers and car parts to reach their full potential. This is really a big, long-term, several-season project that you'll undertake during a career. But like the design center, yeah, we could upgrade it for more than twice the money that we have, and it's going to take a lot longer than the rest of the season, so that's completely pointless. Then over here we've got our part knowledge. This is the largest that you can build your parts to, the best. So we've got legendary. We have enough facilities to build legendary parts. But if we take a look at, say, the suspension, well, we can only build up to good parts. If we want to build great parts, we can see we need a handling development center. So that just sort of shows that as you upgrade your headquarters, you have the need to, or rather, you can unlock better parts that you can build. You're limited in how much you can improve the car until you've got the facilities to support better improvements. And then the HQ stats over here shows how your HQ compares to other teams. Make sure keeping up with your rivals is crucial. So long-term success. Again, overall, we're number 1. Our design facilities, though, are just 4th. Second best factory. You see it's all the way up, so we're equal to Kitano basically there. We're also equal in performance, number 1. So staff is considered 4th, and staff and brand 1st. And so looking at this, improving our staff-related facilities and improving our design is what we'd want improved if we were going to spend the time and money to do that. We can rotate the camera, we can move in and out a little bit. You can see, and again, this building's this big, they look pretty darn impressive. Okay, on to the team, which is the breakdown of your team. Shocking. So we are in the single-seater series. We can also look at the GT teams if we want, but we're not concerned with that at the moment. And now we can see our chairman, a Lipschitz. That's actually not our chairman, that's Steinman, Motorsport. I didn't realize I clicked off of that. There we are. Bonaventura, that's our guy. He's really happy. We can see the principal staff here. I am the team principal. We have drivers Wexler, Saarinen, and Espinoza, who will assumedly be taken over for Wexler. Designer is Kelly, and our 2 mechanics, Hamilton and Clark. Now, marketability. This is made up of both the team's branding and the race driver's marketability. The higher your marketability, the more likely you are to get top sponsor deals. So that's a pretty important thing to keep tabs on. We could visit the HQ if we want. Again, we've got the chassis stuff here. The overall team stats, again, that we've already seen. And we can take a look through and see Steinman. Now they are just, the only team that's better than us, basically. They've got level 3 factory, 4 design center, 88 staff. We only have 40 staff, But we have a level 4 factory, level 3 design center. They've got more of the other supporting buildings. But our better factory seems to give us the HQ edge regardless. And of course we can see the fan base and everything here. We can go through the various teams. Not overly concerned with that right now, but all that information is here and can be useful. On to our drivers. Okay. Now we've got more specific information. We can see how they've been performing over the course of the season. 5.5 for the Form 3 podiums. Qualifying and race performance, how many they've won, etc. Contract, we can fire them, renew contracts if we want. I'm not going to mess with any of that here. And we can see our details. Special page for each driver. We can see Saarinen here. And if you highlight over these, you can see his stats have peaked. He's not improving anymore. They've also got special traits. So he's particularly good at the Ardennes. Will not accept team orders to let the other driver pass. If you no longer go for a gap that exists, you are no longer a racing driver. So he's aggressive, good overtaking, passing other vehicles. And he's really focused, but it also hurts his marketability. So Saarinen is really a drain on the sponsor situation, but he's very helpful when it comes to just maintaining his focus on the track. He's as good as anybody. He's got a 20. And then we've got the race mechanic relationship. His mechanic is Clark, and there's a couple bonuses you can get when they've been together long enough. Soft tires wear more slowly, and car condition drops slightly slower. I happen to particularly like that perk, but they have to be racing together long enough to get them. That hasn't happened yet. We've got his morale down here. Shows how well he thinks he's doing. He's glad to have Wexler as a team player, and he's feeling pretty good about things. Got his career history, how he's done in the recent races. We can see at Singapore, is first in qualifying, third in the race, got himself 6 points. His best race since early in the year. Actually won the first 2 races, and then has kind of sucked until Singapore. So, see if he can pull in some stronger performances. And then we can just click around to the various drivers. We've already seen most of what Wexler has, but he's good at feedback. That is nice to know. He's a team player. Better relationships with chairman, other teammates, and mechanics. And of course he's got the burns. Normally, I thought there was a tooltip for the various abilities here, but they're rated in braking, cornering, both those fairly obvious. Smoothness is related to tire wear. Smoother drivers take a smoother line around the track, don't need to burn the tires as much. Overtaking, passing competitors. Consistency, a more consistent driver will have a lot of laps around the same time, as opposed to less consistent drivers going to be up and down all the time. Adaptability to various conditions. Fitness, will not get as fatigued as easy over a long race, and so they'll be able to perform closer to their peak at the end of the race as compared to the beginning. Feedback, that's really useful in qualifying and practice sessions. They'll let you know things about car setup. And focus, highly focused drivers make less mistakes on the track. And let's take a look at Carla Espinoza here. So we can see the abilities are not as good. She's a little bit above average driver with room to improve, and at 28 probably will improve some. Also not getting paid as much as a reserve driver. Morale is not great. Seems bad things happened to her in Singapore. Qualified 10th but finished 18th. Not the most impressive. Taking over for Wexler, no doubt. And then we can see she's improving some, and her improvement is significantly increased by having that brakes R&D facility here. Cornering improved by the test track, so we can see all that. Smoothness is not improved by anything currently, or adaptability, or consistency, but overtaking is improved by the test track. So as far as like smoothness, braking and cornering, fitness, not looking that good, but very consistent, good at passing other vehicles, good in terms of feedback, and doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And then fuel hungry, burns more fuel than usual, so fuel efficiency is not her top thing. Marketability is fairly low, but it's not terrible. Alright, let's move on to the staff now. Your 3 main staff members, designer and 2 race mechanics, 1 for each driver. And again, this just gives you the general overview. Each lead designer knows different components. These components can be added when building new parts for your cars. If a lead designer's skills increase over the course of their career, they may learn new components. So he's got 3 out of 5. We've got a average 1, increases reliability, decreases performance a bit. So that's definitely going to be useful if we want to get a part out there quickly. Good components take no time to build if we add that. And the legendary 1, plus 20% reliability for each good component. So that can increase the strategy in which components you add to a car, or to a part rather. Take a closer look at Mr. Kelly, and I've seen this before a bit, but he's excellent at everything except for engine, still above average there, and his front wing knowledge is as good as it gets. Still improving, we can see. They improve slowly, but they also improve at a later age. He's 48. Any driver would be useless by now. So I think given well, we'll get back to the strategy of the staff later. Okay, then we've got our first mechanic, Hamilton, above average to excellent in all categories. That's where the tooltip is. It's above, it's on the word above the rating. Okay. Concentration determines the likelihood of mistakes during a pit stop. The lower a mechanic's concentration, the higher chance of a mistake occurring. Part fixes influences how quickly parts are fixed during a race. Pretty basic. Pit stop stat influences the time it takes to complete a pit stop during a race weekend. Higher stat means faster pit stop. Reliability stat determines how quickly a part's reliability is improved through part development. Performance is similar. How quickly the performance improves. You can see she's got a 16 in each, so she can do both equally well. And chemistry influences the rate at which a mechanic and driver's relationship improves. The higher the stat, the quicker the mechanic will bond with their driver. So for our purposes, we're going to know that she's not that great at the pit stops. More likely to make mistakes, and they're not going to be super fast with her. But she's going to be able to get the parts fixed really quickly and equal in the performance and reliability. And she's the mechanic for Wexler. So that's what we have to look forward for him. Then we've got Griffin Clark, the mechanic for Saarinen. And he's just above average on the pit stops, but he's good at everything else. And also we can see still improving. Alright, I'm going to head back to the drivers and just go over those ratings now that I've figured out what my little error there was. And it's still not showing them. Huh. That's just weird. Okay. Never mind that. Well, that's our key staff. And we can see we can do some scouting here if we're looking for new ones. That's also our next page over. Let's take a look at that. Okay, scouting screen. Now, you can see the scout driver buttons here. We'll want to do some of that eventually. We have to scout the drivers to know their abilities. But if you switch over to designers, it tells you how good they are. Race mechanics also tells you how good they are. So for whatever reason, when this game was designed by PlaySport, you've got to scout your drivers. You don't have to scout the others. We've got all kinds of controls down here. We have no favorites right now, but you can make a person that you can hire, a staff potential, a favorite, by simply clicking on that right there. You can see that he'd be listed under favorites. Take that off. We can view everybody or just by age. We can view them by specific abilities. If we only want to see the 5-star ones, see there's nothing. If we want to see 4.5, so we can, there's lots of filters that you can use on the list here. And then, yeah, you can narrow your search for new drivers and staff through filters. Age, skill, and job role can all be defined to ensure you get the best results. And then our chief scout. Your available scouting slots show how many people you can scout at once. You can unlock more slots by upgrading the scouting center. And then Anna Hale, this is your chief scout. Chief scout keeps you in the loop about all the drivers and staff you're interested in. Chief scouts are hired by the chairman and out of your control. And we don't have a rating for them. They're just standard. They're accurate with their abilities. You just, I think they're just given like a name and a portrait just for immersion's sake. There's no way for you to interact with them, fire them, and anything else. They're just kind of thrown in there. And then down here with our actual people, of course, we can see their abilities, their current contract, where they're working, if anywhere, when their contract ends. If somebody's contract ends soon, they're more likely to sign a deal, and they're also going to have a smaller cost to break it in general. On to the finances screen. This is always important. Yeah, chairman happiness again, we've seen all that. We have the possibility to request additional funds if we really feel that we need it. We can set the budget of next year's car. Now this is important because when you build the chassis at the beginning of the year, it's basically you're going to have the chairman withhold these funds and then they're going to give them back to you when it's time to build that chassis, and you'll make sure that you don't overspend and not have enough money for it. However, we're not going to be concerned with that, given we're only here for the rest of this season. And then we can see all of our expenses. And like, for example, on the HQ upkeep, the more facilities you have in your HQ, the more you have to pay per race to keep them going. So it's not just a simple matter of, well, I'm going to buy the best I have the money for right now, because the more you buy there, the less money you have for other things. So building your HQ up to an appropriate level for your team is important. You don't want to overbuild it. And you can see we've also got some facilities that make us some money there. We've got the amount the chairman kicks in. We've got your sponsor deals, travel costs, all of that fun stuff. Driver salaries. So this shows the total breakdown. And again, overall, we're looking at almost $1 million in the positive. Okay, sponsors. Here we can, brought back to the car screen, we can see the marketability up there on the left. Wexler's very marketable. The team is great. The only problem is Saarinen is just not a guy that we can sell. But still, we're looking pretty good. 3 out of 5 stars there. And if we highlight any of these, the car will shift. We can see our details. We've got to finish 5th or above, for example, to get the bonus here. Got to finish 2nd or above here. And then we've also got fixed payment sponsors. And Shimizu here paid us $1 million at the beginning of the contract as a bonus, and it pays us $550K for each race. And we'll take a look at these offers and select one for the final couple of spots here. You never want to go into a race without sponsors, with sponsor slots that are open if you can avoid it. And these 3 sponsor slots are for offering fixed payments. These will pay the specified amount after each race, regardless of the result. And of course, you have to meet specific standards to get the bonus payments. On to our standings. We can go through the various levels here. We've got WMC, Asia Pacific Super Cup, European Racing Series in the single-seater. We've got the GT ones, International GT, GT Challenger. We can look at all that stuff. Not particularly concerned about it right now. We've seen everything we need to see. Calendar is going to be a little more interesting. Okay, all of the ones we've already gone through, top to bottom, and then we have Milan. Sydney, what we're doing now, rather. Milan, Vancouver, Phoenix, Yokohama. Okay, so basically the deal is we've got him out for 2 weeks. It's only the 22nd of September. So even though they said they're going to leave him at home for Milan, it looks like he's going to be back in time for Milan. But he's only going to have the last 3 or 4 races to make up territory, and he's going to be behind Chapman. So for Wexler to win, we really need to dominate when he returns. That's going to be our main goal here. And again, we can see the details for each of them. Got the weather forecast, and the farther out you go, the less you're really going to know. 19% chance of rain. You can see we don't really know for sure what's going to happen there, but the ones that are closer, we've got a more detailed look. We've got which layout the track's going to use. Look at Milan here. You see there are different ones that the track can be oriented to. What tires are going to be available, how tough the track is on your tires, how many laps, all that fun stuff. All of that is here in the calendar. Okay, so that pretty much covers the walkthrough of the different screens, what you can look at, and now we've got to think about what moves we're going to make. A couple things right away. Let's get our sponsors set up. And I'm just looking for who's going to give us the most money soon. Now, per race, Kashima is the best. But in terms of being over the course of this season, we're only worried about the next 5 races. So because of that, I think FWK over here is actually going to be better. And then Carne Blanco, decent. But I want to go with FWK. Let's get the money now. If this was not a short-term thing, I would probably go with Kashima. Go with the long play. And then we can see we get our upgraded cash flow up to 16.4 million. Now how about our last slot here? upfront $4 million payment. And I mean, if you look at a per race basis, that's going to be 300 and some per race. Ravelli would again be better in the long term. Peach Plum would be about the same, but Balmina is going to be better for our purposes. So that's a nice little chunk of change. We just added $5 million to the kitty. Now in our finances, we don't care about next year's car, so we want to lower that to the minimum. And now our per race income up to $1.4 million. So that's looking good. The next thing we want to do is slide over to our car spot. Well, first of all, let me look at the staff. Now, one thing you may want to consider is replacing staff from time to time. I think that the main one we'd think about is maybe getting a better designer to design better parts for Wexler's car at this point. But yeah, the only one we're going to upgrade significantly is going to be the engine. Maybe it takes a little bit of time to negotiate a deal, and fairly pricey cost to break Kelly's contract. So I'm going to stick with him. And let's get our parts situated to the cars the way we want them. Pretty much I want the best of everything to be on Wexler's car, and so yeah, those are slightly better brakes, so that's where I want that to be. I don't want, because we're about to go on a race, I don't want to go out with 40% reliability on anything, so we're gonna shift that down there. Those two are about even right now. I'm going to leave them as is. Let's take a look at our gearboxes. Again, we've got somebody using a gearbox just isn't up to snuff. We'll switch that one down there. That's the best one we can throw out there at the moment. Wings, again about the same. And of course, there's no need to worry about wouldn't have to worry about putting it on Wexler's car now because he's hurt. But I still want to make sure that we're doing the best we can, that it's set up that way for when he comes back. Okay, I think I'm going to leave the suspension as it is. Go back to look at our parts here again. And I'd really like to get this cornering improved, I think. I want to punch the reliability just yet. I like this one. Plus 10 to the rating and plus 10 to the reliability. So that kind of is a good balanced one. It's the only one that really, none of them give a better low speed corners improvement anyway. It's the only one that bumps it up. So I think we're going to go with that. We're going to build that part. Not going to be ready for a few days after the race, but we've got to pay out that $700K. And you can only design one part at a time, so I've got to wait for that to finish before doing anything else. So let's look at what parts we want to improve. And at first of all, let's take a look at our, Clark is slightly better at performance than reliability. Hamilton is the same. So we want to switch Clark over to the performance. It's not a huge difference, but it's a difference. Let's clear all these out. And we really want to focus on parts that Wexler is going to have long term. Because if I'm going to replace the part, well, why worry too much about that? And I don't care about Saarinen's parts by comparison. So let's make sure everything Wexler is going to have long term is maxed out. Like to get this best engine. Definitely want to get that reliability going. And let's get that gearbox reliability going. At least for now, we're working on the front wings. Not sure that I want to put any work into those for that reason. But it would be good to work on maxing out the performance for our other parts. The suspension. You know, I'm not going to work on that reliability yet. It'd be nice to use that eventually, but Saarinen's going to use that, if anybody. And you know, I'm kind of doing this backwards. I should be looking at just Wexler's parts. I'm looking at both drivers' parts. Which isn't a bad way in general, but there we go. We can see we can't improve these two at all because they're at max performance, max reliability. So if we're going to work on the performance for his other parts, not the one that we're currently designing there, and then we can do some reliability improvements for those also. And then these two, reliability that nobody's using, but we're going to want to use them when we're able to. I feel pretty close here. I really want to pump up the reliability, especially until I get sure what's going on with these various other parts. So we're not going to get much done on these. They'll improve, but very slowly. But we're going to get the reliability humming along for these. So that's what I'm going to stick with for now. And we are pretty much set. Down here, it's time to continue, advance the timeline, and to see what's ahead of us in Sydney. Warning, you have an injured driver. You can leave an injured driver at home to recover. Drivers who stay at home heal faster over race weekends. Definitely want to do that. So we're going to go with Saarinen and Espinosa. And which sponsor do we want? I think we're going to finish best case 10th above, 5th or above, 2nd or above. I think Saarinen's going to finish in the top 10. I'm not sure that we're going to be guaranteed of a top 5. So I'm going to go with the sure money. Then we've got our tire selection. Particular rules that we have. You know what? I did not cover the rules. Shame on me. Let's go do that real quick down here at standings. Current rules. Okay. In the WMC, long practice sessions. Practice sessions last 20 minutes, allowing teams plenty of time to perfect their strategy. Qualifying lasts 12 minutes, allowing all teams and drivers the chance to nail the perfect lap. Longer races place more of an emphasis on overall team quality as well as on race strategy, 35 laps on average. Pit stops are normal speed. We do have simultaneous pit stops, so they'll be faster. High merit payments. Big difference in money between the top and bottom teams. Merit payments are handed out at the end of the year, I believe. Points for the top 8. So if you don't finish in the top 8, you do not get anything for it. Double points for the final race of the season. That's going to be important to us. Really going to need Wexler to do well at the end. Normal width slick tires, second highest in performance. Allow us to go quickly, but they cost 25k a race. Well, we're in the elite here, so that expense is not something we're going to worry about. Cortez tires are not as fast as Brutus tires, but they last longer. We can choose whatever tires we want. There's 3 dry weather compounds to choose from at each race, and we can choose 15, so we got plenty of tires available. Championship uses both types of safety cars. I'm not sure how that works. Cars cannot refuel during the race. It makes things cheaper, but it also pretty much eliminates fuel strategy in the pit stops. We can't make use of technological improvements for driver aids, so the driver's skill is more important than if those were available. Qualifying decides where drivers start on the grid. And weight stripping is allowed. We can strip down parts to increase performance. I haven't messed around with the weight stripping before, so we'll have to see how that works. And you vote on rule changes as the season progresses. We can see there's going to be a change for next year. We're not really concerned about that. Okay. So let's go back to where we were. What kind of tires do we want? Well, it's looking like heavy rain, so it's probably not going to matter, but it's also looking like it's going to be pretty cool. I'm going to err on the side of the super softs. And I think this will work pretty well. Cooler weather will allow the softer tires to perform better, so we're definitely going to want to go with our speed. Part fitting. Unsure. About how all that's going to work. Okay. Tire wear is going to be high. Fuel burn is medium. 41 laps. Going to be out there for a while. Okay. And there we are in Sydney, Australia. Alright, we've got to select drivers for our cars. They're unavailable. And now we're going to deal with the setup. Weight stripping. It basically allows you to temporarily sacrifice reliability, gain performance. For this race, I'm not going to do this. You can see we can change each of them individually. I don't know if we can change. Yeah, we can change. There is a way to just knock off some from each of them like so. I'm not going to mess with it for this race. I want to get a sense for how far reliability is going to go down over the course of the race. And then I might have a better idea. There's really not a lot of performance pressure in this race because Wexler isn't here. So it doesn't really matter that much how we do, other than a little bit of money from the sponsors, etc. We are still going to be in the same situation. I do want to race against Chapman, but other than that, it doesn't matter what else happens. So we're going to skip that. Let's go to car setup. From here you can choose what tires you want your driver to start the race with. That's not what car setup is. It's tire selection. Yeah, the game is confused. This is not tire selection. Well, tire selection is part of it, but good descriptions there of the tires. But let's go ahead and we want to go into change our setup. The setup uses the mechanic of you got 3 basic things to change, or rather 3 basic aspects over here, but 6 to change over here, and they all have a different impact, and you can save and load setups for a particular track. So for here, let's take a look at what it says about the 3. Downforce panel shows you whether the car favors cornering with high downforce or straights with low downforce. The handling panel allows you to tweak the car's handling in the way which most benefits your driver. Speed balance panel shows you whether the car favors acceleration or top speed. Okay, now this mini game can get a little repetitive, but it's pretty interesting. Expected form is going to be about 7, we think, for Espinoza. Her abilities, all that. But the strategy that I use for this, we want to the green bar is recommended by the mechanic, and it's currently set up. It's always going to be set up to be straight down the middle to begin with. I usually start halfway between the middle of the full bar and the middle of the green bar. So, like for downforce, for example, the middle of the green bar would be here. I'm going to start somewhere around here. And then as we race around the track, we're going to want to make adjustments. The handling probably going to push a little bit towards the oversteer. Speed balance going to push a little bit towards acceleration. So let's take a look at what each of these does. The front wing angle, you can see it's mostly going to decrease the downforce, which is what we want. The rear wing angle affects downforce along with handling and speed. That's actually not bad right there. Yeah, it's pretty close to where I want it. I'm not even going to adjust any of the other ones yet. Now we get into our tire choice. It's going to give us the car setup tip here. There we go. Car balance panel allows you to make adjustments to the car to accommodate for the track. Each track has an ideal balance, and matching your car to the requirements of the track will earn you a significant reduction in lap time. Tweak your car's balance, then send it out for a run during practice or qualifying in order to find the best setup. Okay, let's take a look at our weather. And it's expected to rain soon, but not right away, so we can get away with using one of our tires. I'm going to use the soft tires, burn them a little bit at first. Alright, now we want to take a look at Saarinen's setup. You can see the bars are going to be different because the drivers are different. Okay, you're going to want him even further on the downforce side. Okay, handling. Maybe about here. Want a little bit more oversteer, which I think is softer suspension. Yep. Say maybe about there. And then the speed, maybe about here. So we want more acceleration, which means shorter gear ratios. Let's try that. That's in the general vicinity where we want to be. Saarinen's looking to start off at about a 6. Soft tires again to begin for him. Okay, we are ready to begin our practice session. Here goes nothing. No, I do not want to simulate. I want to take practice. Always want to pause it, send them out right away. And we can see we're trying to get ready for qualifying, not race, at the moment. We could switch to race, which would work towards being better in the race, but not in qualifying. So let's just get some basic feedback here. And we're on our way. You see, we're just going with neutral on our strategy here. We just want to get a feel for things. We're not trying to go crazy. And here comes the rain. See our knowledge bars increasing, giving us more information. Alright, Saarinen really likes the gear ratios. Usually I just do a couple laps at first. Then we're going to bring them in and see what they think of the situation. It's also getting really wet out there, so we're not going to want to be using these tires anyway. Saarinen also likes his aero. Okay, we see we've got low knowledge. But we've now got a grade here. 78% for Espinosa. The handling is good, downforce is okay, top speed is okay. Well, downforce has obviously got to go higher. And after a while you can sort of gauge how much you want to move it based on how good the grade is. I don't think that's going to be enough. I'm going to try somewhere in there. Now, handling is good. We're probably not going to want to move that as much. I'm going to go with a little bit more oversteer. I don't want that much more oversteer. Let's just increase the tire pressure to get there. Okay. We want to go for more top speed, more acceleration. We really could go either way. I'm going to switch to the top speed side. Oh, maybe I'm not. I don't know why I'm moving the suspension. I need to be moving the speed. Let's try something about there. Yeah, I still want a little bit more oversteer. There we go. I think I want to try this. See how that works. Let's move to stints. And then, of course, you've got the whole qualifying versus race thing. Let's go out for 2 laps. I think maybe I want to balance it out. I want to get a little more qualifying knowledge in, and then switch to race for most of the rest of the practice. I don't have much practice. Redundant. Don't have much experience doing the practice thing, so I'm sort of playing this by ear, as it were. But again, this is sort of just a bit of a, fly by the seat of the pants thing. I'm going to go with wet tires. I only want to use one of the wets because it's supposed to rain during the race. So hopefully we can just use this one set. But it's just practice. Okay. Yeah, Sarnen's feeling a lot better. He's already at 91%. Happy with the downforce and the speed balance, but they could be made slightly better. And then the handling needs a little bit more adjustment. Okay, I'm going to crank down the downforce just a little bit. See what he thinks about that, if it's better, if it's worse. Speed balance, let's go slightly more towards our top speed. There we go. Handling, yeah, I think that's a good attempt. Let's give that one a shot. Again, I'm going to go out with 2 laps this time, and I'm going to go on the wets there also. Okay. As soon as I make those changes, we'll get back out there. The track is getting busier, and it's also getting soaked. Saarinen out first in this particular case. So we're going to be looking to take a warm-up lap, out lap here, go around twice, and then see what's going on. Saarinen's at a 7, Espinosa at a 5.7 right now. We've got qualifying trim level 1. It also is useful to race on the wet tires, get the drivers more used to doing the wet tires on this track, since we're expecting it to rain during the race. Alright, they're both happy with the changes so far. Not bad. We're in the top 2 positions. I could live with that. Still no negative feedback yet. We'll finish this lap, and then the one after will bring them in. Oh, more good news. I'm loving it. Level 1 wet tires. Level 2 qualifying trim. Very nice. You see the bring in option isn't even available now. They're coming in. Speed balance has gotten worse for Espinosa. That's not good. There's still plenty of time to make adjustments though. And we definitely want to get off the wet tires. What are we going to be doing here? Maybe. I think we'll go with inters on the next set. Be good to have them somewhat used to both wet and inters. Because probably going to be using both during qualifying and or race. Look at Sarnin, 98%. Excellent on all 3. Ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm sticking right there. Let's go for a full 3 laps. Race trim. Bump it up to 8, make sure he has enough fuel to just stay out there. Intermediates. Bingo. Alright, let's see about Saarinen. Well, we're set on the downforce. The handling is close. The speed balance is horrible. Okay, so we look at the last one. We can see here, like this white one is where we are now. This is what we used for the first one. So it was good there. That's great. I think probably just a bit understeer. Probably a little bit more understeer on that. Might need to go the other way, but I'm going to say a bit more understeer. No, I'll try the oversteer direction. I can always bring it back later. A little more oversteer on the handling. And then for the speed, thought it was okay there. It's hideous here, not even close. We definitely want more acceleration. A little more oversteer, a lot more acceleration. So let's go maybe about there, see what that does. There we are. Don't really need to change anything else. Race trim, 8 laps. Inters. Okay. Now, unless we get some bad reports from them, I think this is going to be our final run. We're going to take a few laps around as is. And move on to the next stage of this race weekend here at Sydney. Nice visuals to be able to see the rocks on the shore, the boats, sailing boats as we go by them. It's nice to see our qualifying time is still ahead of Chapman there in 6th. Well, it was. It's not anymore. Not qualifying time, practice time, but it's still a decent measure. Let's see how we do, see if we're able to make up any ground. Currently in 6th and 7th overall, which is not terrible. Saarinen likes his gearing. He should like everything. His car is set up very well. Beautiful. Espinosa could not stand her speed balance before. Now she loves it. So her car should be ready to go too. We should have a pretty strong setup. We are dropping. Espinosa ran her best lap, but we're still 9th and 10th. Of course, part of that is we are carrying quite a bit of fuel. You can see Chapman's got we got 3/4 of a second lead on everybody. We're not doing too bad compared to the others. And there's our first race trim. And intermediate tires. Espinosa still happy with the gear ratios. Good for her. And of course, I don't know if those other cars are pushing themselves harder for their times. I'm not interested in pushing hard in practice. We'll push harder in qualifying, of course. And it's getting wetter, so it's getting harder to get good times. So I think we're pretty much going to be a middle of the pack team in practice. Not going to impress anybody, but we'll see if this carries over. You see the difference? We're getting a lot more good information from Espinosa. Setup knowledge is great, almost perfect. Where Saarinen's really just middle of the road even after a long practice session. Looking like we really nailed Espinosa there, so I'm happy about that. Race trim level 2. Level 2 intermediates. And of course, each of those give us bonuses to how we perform with those tires for this weekend, or in the case of race trim or qualifying trim, how you perform in those sessions. And practice is now over. Just waiting for it to wrap up. Okay. Well, Saarinen down to 14th, Espinosa 16th. Not winning any awards there. Again, I'm hoping the other teams pushed their tires harder during the practice. But we will, of course, find that out soon. Must be a worried man after that practice session. No, not yet, really. Saarinen says, hope we can improve for qualifying. I expect us to do that. And Steinman, of course, with Chapman dominating the session, we would expect nothing else. You got a 200K bonus if we qualify 10th or above. Okay, well that's going to do it for this session, this episode. We'll be back next time to get the qualifying and race for Sydney, Australia going. My first competitive race in the Up in Flames Challenge. We'll see how Saarinen and Espinosa can perform for Team Scuderia Rossini. That will wait for the future. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.